I am Nostradamus, doctor, astrologer, prophet. I saw plagues devour cities, flames consume empires, and kings cut down by fate they could not escape. Some called me a fraud, others a heretic. But when the crowned heads of Europe trembled at my words, they knew I had glimpsed tomorrow. I never asked for this curse, this gift. To see the future is to live in endless mourning, for every vision is a death you cannot prevent. The night I began my writings, the candles burned down to stubs. My hand trembled as my quill scraped across parchment. And when I looked into the ink, it was not black, but red, like blood flowing through time. I began not as a seer, but as a healer. When the plague came, it did not knock. It stormed into towns like a black tide. The streets stank of rot and fear. Mothers clutching lifeless children, bells tolling endlessly, priests chanting last rites over pits of corpses. I wore the mask of a plague doctor, stuffed with herbs to block the stench. I mixed tinctures, poultices, and elixirs. I tried to save them. But how can one man battle death when death has already chosen his harvest? And then the visions came. At first in fevered dreams, then in waking hours. I saw rivers of blood, towers collapsing into dust, iron birds blotting out the sun. I saw wars not yet born, machines not yet forged. And I knew. I was not merely a physician. I was condemned to be a witness to centuries that were not mine. I began to write quatrains, 4-line verses, cloaked in riddles. Why riddles? Because truth is dangerous. If I wrote plainly, I would be burned. If I wrote clearly, kings would see their deaths named. So I disguised them. A lion becomes a king, a serpent, a tyrant, a great flame, a war that would one day scar the earth. Each verse was a mirror. The more you stared, the more it revealed. And yet, though I wrapped them in mystery, I trembled as I wrote. For I knew they would one day be read not as warnings, but as inevitabilities. One night, Queen Catherine de' Medici summoned me to her court. France was trembling, her sons caught in wars of faith and power. She asked me, "What do you see?" I told her, "I see a young lion pierced in battle, struck through the eye, dying in the field." She paled. She knew it was her son, King Henry II. Years later, during a joust, a lance shattered through his visor. It pierced his eye, his skull, and he died in agony, just as I had seen. From that day on, the court whispered. Some called me the devil's voice, others God's messenger. But Catherine feared me, and yet she could not look away. Before I continue, if you like to hear more from history's greatest legends tell their own stories and secrets, just like mine, subscribe now. Every week, a new legend is reborn. I foresaw thrones collapsing. I saw the revolution in France, a king beheaded beneath the blade of justice, a queen crying out before the mob. I saw the rise of a Corsican general, a man crowned in glory who would conquer Europe, only to be cast into exile on a lonely rock. I saw wars beyond my century, fire falling from the sky, cities reduced to ash, machines of iron spitting fire, death raining from the heavens in thunder not made by God. They laughed when I wrote these things. They called me a dreamer, a liar. But centuries later, the world burned exactly as I had seen. Do you know what it means? To know tomorrow's pain? To wake with visions of fire, famine, and kings choking on their last breath? I was cursed not with power, but with sorrow. For even as my name spread, even as kings begged for my counsel, I knew the truth. The future cannot be stopped. It can only be witnessed. Some prayed I could change destiny. Some begged me to save their sons, their nations, their lives. But I could not. The ink was already spilled. When I died, they sealed my tomb with my book beside me. But centuries later, when they broke it open, They found I had marked the very year of their arrival. The soldiers trembled. They whispered that even in death I had spoken, and perhaps I still do. For every century finds new meaning in my words. Every war, every fall of kings, they return to me. Some say my spirit lingers still, whispering warnings to those who dare listen. But tell me, would you listen if you knew what tomorrow held? I am Nostradamus. I did not live in my own time. I lived in every tomorrow. And even now, my prophecies are not yet done. This is Legends Reborn, where history speaks.